Okay, so today I'm going to start what I call a 75 days of cyber hard mode. And what this is going to consist of is I've set a goal basically to build or launch a project in my field, which is cybersecurity. And it's going to be centered or it's going to function kind of like the 75 hard goal or strategy that you may have seen, you may have heard of, you may not have, but you can look it up on, let's say, YouTube or Google, and it'll show you the 75 hard goals that you have in order to, try to get fit and get in shape and things like that. I tweaked it a bit to make it more so fit for cybersecurity. And the thing is, what I really want to try to do inside of this project for the next 75 days, I'm going to build a project centered around agentic AI, and I'm going to try to purpose it for SentinelOne. And just to kind of give some insight behind the reason why I started doing this is because I had someone reach out to me on LinkedIn, and it was actually a recruiter, and they were recruiting for someone who was really skilled in SentinelOne and Python, but they also wanted them to be knowledgeable in vulnerability management as well as like SQL databases. So I started trying to think about like, okay, what might they be doing? It was a company, they were recruiting for a company that a lot of us know. What I am going to say, without saying any names, I'm going to say that it is a cellular cell phone carrier brand. That's all I'll say for that. Mainly just because it's not that important. Um, but they were looking for someone who specializes in cybersecurity as well as vulnerability management and AI, well, more so Python and then SentinelOne. But what I do know about SentinelOne is that they are implementing a lot of AI, which that makes me think if this company wants someone to be very strong and knowledgeable in vulnerability management as well as Python, and then they also want you to know SentinelOne. I mean, just filling in the blanks. I'm thinking most likely they're probably going to be implementing some automation around their security practices. I mean, that's what a lot of companies are doing right now. That's one of the big things SentinelOne is doing right now. So that's one thing I'm going to be focusing on is sharpening my SentinelOne skills as well as agentic AI, because what I want to do is to be able to take a API an AI API like ChatGPT and use that API to link to a tool or resource like SentinelOne and be able to identify vulnerabilities and possibly maybe even put into place vulnerability management and remediation concepts or tasks like in an automated fashion. Now, for me, the ultimate goal of success for this, I mean, more so like the reason, an additional reason to why I'm doing this is I want to be able to create a project that could, at least at a minimum wage standpoint, somewhat supplement income to bring in about $3,000 a month. And this could be anything. This could be contracted with a business, or this could be, made as a product and sold to consumers or to just to businesses only. And so that'll be the ultimate goal of success. After the 75 days of me finishing this, which will end right around January of 2026, I would love to be generating about $3,000 of income from this project. And so for the next 75 days, I have to do 5 daily tasks that consist of a building session. So for 45 to 90 minutes, I have to do something along the lines of these options right here. So either I could write or refactor code or research the code if I don't necessarily understand it, which a lot of the initial first, I would say 15 days. I mean, I spent a couple of days researching a project like this. So the first, I would say week to 2 weeks, we're going to be talking about that project that I've already found that could be adjusted to fit this purpose of what it is that I'm trying to do. And then, figuring out ways to repurpose the things that are in that code to fit the thing that I want to work with. And also, as well, of course, to build my Python coding skills and, help me to be a good fit for this position. Because as of right now, what I will say is I'm not necessarily a good fit for that position that they reached out to me for, simply because my Python coding is weak. I started learning Python back in about 2017, and even back then, I knew like a lot of this was going to be automated. And so right now, we're pretty much at that prediction that I made now. Um, what is it, like 7, 8 years ago? I made that prediction, and it's basically the chickens have come to roost, I would say. And I want to find a way to be a part of basically what I predicted years ago, is that it would be automated. And as of right now, if you don't already know, a lot of AI tools can build code. A lot of people are calling it vibe coding, because basically you type in a prompt and it can build the code for you. But in a sense, a lot of people they're getting a lot of backlash about vibe coding, but vibe coding is evolving and it's getting smarter and it's getting more effective. And honestly, a lot of people are saying if you don't use AI with your coding, then you're really just going to get left behind. And so what I'm seeing is a lot of the code and this automation project is going to replace a lot of need for personnel, or um, actual people that will be on site actually doing the work, because this agentic AI can do a lot of that work and not need a lot of the man hours. So I know a lot of people will probably give backlash about that and say like, oh, well, AI is not really going to replace people. But I mean, honestly, companies are doing everything they can to try to figure out a way to put that into place to reduce their expenses by paying salaries. And if it's possible, they will. A lot of people said that the V8 engine wasn't possible either, but today we got V12 engines. So uh, I don't want to have my head in the sand and think that it's not possible, because AI has only been around for, at least to the general public, that people generally know about it, for about 4 or 5 years. Of course, it may have been around longer, but at the same time, available to the public as easily as it is right now, it's only been around for about 4 or 5 years, and it's surpassed a lot of what people can do in general. So, I mean, if you're thinking about a type of technology that's only 4 or 5 years old, if you double that in time, what is that gonna say for what it will be able to produce in 2030? If you don't already know how it works and what it could possibly do, then you might put yourself behind the learning curve. So that's the main reason why I'm doing this project in general. Um, the second portion of this is there's 5 tasks. Is I have to do a building session where I'm building something along with this project, as well as I have to create a video to market what it is that I'm building. More so to market my skill set that I'm developing, and to get some attention, because of course I need to be able to reach people who might want to purchase this service once it's built. And so we'll be marketing that for the next 75 days. We actually start today will be our first starting point. We've already done a project that we've been working with Microsoft, where they've actually provided a lot of um, code space projects within Azure, and they're talking about chat vision. It's very basic and rudimentary, or fundamental, but at the same time, it still gives you a good understanding of how it's all working, and how you can bring some of the concepts that they're teaching from Microsoft, along with ChatGPT, into what it is that we're trying to build. And so what I also learned too, which helped me out, is that GitHub offers code spaces, which I'm not a software development by trade. That's not really my backbone of my skill set, but at the same time, learning that helped me understand that I don't really need to download a lot of things locally on my machine. So I started using code spaces to run my VS Code projects, or be able to use VS Code from GitHub. It's already factored in, and you can just basically click here, click a code space, and it'll bring up your code. So that's mainly where I'm going to be running a lot of the code for this project here. Not this project. This is actually the uh, AI project that Microsoft is doing, but I have my own that I'm going to run here. And this is a project that I got from Josh Matagora's Cyber Range free community, where he's showing you how to do basically this concept, but with Azure and ChatGPT. So Azure's the environment where you're getting all of the information, the logs and things like that. And it's more so for like a SOC agentic AI type deal. I'm going to take what I learned from this and repurpose it for vulnerability management, as well as he was using um, Defender for Endpoint as his basically way to identify threats and isolate machines and things like that. We're going to use Sentinel-1 to be able to do a lot of that, identifying possible vulnerabilities as well as possible threats as well within their context of what they have. And then we'll see what we can implement into this integrate with ChatGPT if possible. I know, like I said, Sentinel-1 already has their Sentinel-1 Purple AI, I think is what they're calling it. So they already have this function implemented in with it. So within that context, more so we're just going to be looking at how the automation works. Like I said, the whole purpose of it is to understand how the automation works behind the scenes, where it's basically you're prompting it to say, find the threat and isolate the device, and then so that we can respond to the possible incident. Um, and so with being able to do that, there's a lot of processes that have to be put into place for it to work. So we'll be making one task will be making a video. Another task will be just a building session where mainly we're going to be recording the information for that video. So we'll take this information from here. We'll be recording it while we're building it. We'll post that video on socials. And then this right here is just an additional guide for what it is that we need to be learning in order to make sure we're focusing in on this project. So vulnerability exploitation, possible threat detection mapping, but that's just dealing with the fact that we're working with Sentinel-1. I don't necessarily know if I'm going to be mainly focused on that. My main focus will be the model behavior testing under real scenarios. And then the second priority would be vulnerability exploitation or more so remediation. So we'll put a slash remediation. And then basically I have to document and vlog my findings, that's what I'm doing here. Um, and so combining this focus building session and then what I'm learning here, basically these are kind of going to complement each other. And I'm going to record it while I'm doing that process. And then for this right here, the daily proof of progress, of course, I am going to make a video, but I can even take a screenshot. I mean, that's just an extra additional task that'll be easy to do. You just take a screenshot and discuss on, let's say, LinkedIn or something about, what I did, a written summary or something like that of what I did, screenshot of a terminal or dashboard talking about what it is that I'm trying to accomplish, just to keep track of my progress. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a code commit. It could be like a written summary, like I do here. I've done here plenty of times where I've taken screenshots and I just did like a little small write-up, but it'll be more inclusive than this. Of course, I'll be giving more context to what it is that's being built. And let me go to here. 75 days. All right. And then the final thing would be a strict diet where I will have no alcohol, no protein or produce. I mean, I'll only eat protein and produce, no fast food or junk food. And so how I track that, honestly, that'll just be more so my own internal integrity, just because of the fact, I mean, maybe in my videos, I'll just talk about what I ate, but most, I mean, for the videos they're more so meant for marketing. So I'm not really going to go into that as much just because nobody really cares. So I'll find a way to track that. Maybe I'll just put that in my maybe I'll put that in a spreadsheet or something like that. And then the rules are if I miss any tasks for one day, I have to start completely over. So today marks the kickoff of the first video that I'm making here. Um, so we're gonna reach at max this is probably gonna be about 45 minutes, I would say. And we've already, like I said, we've already scheduled a project where we're working with learning what Microsoft is teaching. I want to say you can see that here. Python plus AI, done by Microsoft Reactor. So I attended that on the 14th from 12 to 1. And if you want to check that out, of course, you can see that here at this link right here. And I've already watched it for today, so that'll knock off my 1 hour of what it is I need to cover for today. Um, but along with that, I'll also see if I can record something else. But this is just the intro video where I'm starting today, and this challenge is set to end in a perfect case scenario in January if I keep up the consistency. And so I want to say this particular project will be going on for maybe, let's see, Python AI structured input. Need to figure out, let's say this month. I don't want to, let's say coding languages, live stream. So you can see right here, they have one tomorrow on the 15th, the 16th, Python plus AI structured outputs is going to be on tomorrow. So that'll be something I'll be attending. The 16th, I'll be attending this one as well. They usually do it Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Um, at least they've done it for they started last week and they've been doing that. This is the second week now they've been doing this. So that'll be my uh, thing that I'll be using for my 1 hour of research, as well as I also have my other project that I'm working with as far as school. So we'll go to school. And in school, like I said, in the cyber range, you can go here to the cyber community, and you can see that in their classroom, something that I've been working with, and I meet with the group every Thursday to discuss this AI cybersecurity with Python project. And so I basically went through all of these, and it's been continuous for a while. So they just added this video, I want to say recently. I just actually just finished that one today. And so I've done that along with the Microsoft PowerShell video. And so essentially, I mean, that was 26 minutes where I went through this, as well as I took this code right here, this via my Isolation OpenAI custom agent, and I uploaded it to GitHub, and I'm going to use their code space in order to write it or in order to edit it. So I actually have one of them open, Chat AI Vision. This is from today. Yeah, this is the code space I have open from the Python walkthrough today that they did live on the Microsoft. And let's see, for this, if I wanted to edit the code, which I was editing it recently. So I need to figure out where this is vector embeddings. This is another one we went over last week, I want to say. Um, so let's see. I'm gonna just go to my code. Animated happiness, 3 hours. I want to say this is the one I was editing here. So you can see how you can set up a code space here. And I love this because I don't have to download VS Code on my computer. They have it just already implemented in GitHub. You don't have to save anything on your computer. and it's free. It's magical, honestly. And so this is the code that I'm going to be working with here. Or this is the code that I'm going to work with for the first week or so that I can understand exactly how this whole thing works. It essentially what it's meant to do is it's meant to link to OpenAI ChatGPT as well as link to Azure, and you connect to an Azure environment, and then you import. Uh, okay, I don't need that. Um, yeah, you link to an Azure environment, so you will authenticate to Azure in the command line, which that's what we do on our Thursday group. We actually test this, but leading up until Thursday, typically what I'll do is I'll just make sure I understand the code. So that's what I've been spending a lot of time going through today, understanding that like things like different parts of the code. So you have to have a log analytics workspace within Azure, and then you run um, anything related to this logs query client is going to refer to your Azure credentials that you enter in from the command line. So you have to actually download AZ login to be able to log in from the command line. You actually have to use the OpenAI client API key, so you have to actually pay for a subscription with OpenAI, as far as I know. And that's something that I've been thinking about because I know with the project that we have with Microsoft, when we use their AI keys, I want to say we don't have to do that. Um, we don't have to like pay for anything for like OpenAI keys. They just link to an OpenAI key, and I'm not sure exactly how they do that. My assumption is they're using typically we're using GPT 4.0. And I want to say even today when I read the GPT, I tried to switch the GPT 4.0 to GPT 5. I ran into an error, and I assumed that that error was because of the fact that I I didn't have a subscription, or I wasn't paying for an OpenAI API key. So, and so just going through this, you'll see right here, model management. Um, you can go to modelmanagement.py and see right here, our default model is GPT 4.0 mini, I mean, GPT 5 mini. And that might be the thing because that might be the catch because of the fact that we're defaulting to GPT-5. We might have to have that API token. But I may see if I can figure out if I can drop back down to GPT 4.0. If I can find that code space that I was in earlier. I closed it. Let's see. Let's see if I can open that. Reopen close tab. So right here, this is vector embeddings. I don't want vector embeddings. Reopen close tab. This is the one I want, the vision. So within this vision model, I want to close the vector embeddings. We went to, was it notebooks? And inside notebooks, we went to, I think it was a chat vision IP YNB. And you can see here we use OpenAI model, OpenAI GPT 4.0. And in a sense, I want to say it just used I don't know, maybe it just didn't need using open API compatible API with no key. So yeah, no key required. So with 4.0, it seems like we don't need a key. And that's actually interesting because I literally just learned that today. And so given the fact that I have been running this other code with the GPT-5 mini, it makes me think, do I really need to pay for this? Because this didn't pay for anything. And so that's one thing I'm going to look into is can I find a way to swap that out so that I don't need to pay for any API key. So actually, let's get started with this. Let's get, so this will be along with our process of recording, we're going to see if we can figure out, because it even says here, tenant ID, Azure tenant ID. And so this is doing the same process. This is the Microsoft project that I'm working with. And that other project is the school project that I'm working with in this platform called the Cyber Range. And so yeah, they're using an Azure tenant. I don't necessarily know where that is. I mean, I would have to see something like where we would find, let's see, you have to go into the code and see if we can find Azure tenant. If we can find just tenant ID, Azure underscore tenant ID, using Azure OpenAI with Azure Developer CLI credentials. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that this is all the tenants that you see from this. Yeah, I'm not sure how they put that in here. So one thing I may have to see is we'll do October 14th. So in the Microsoft project, they use GPT 4.0, 4.0, and stated that no API key was required. I am interested to know how that was done because JM in the cyber range uses GPT-5-mini and it requires you to pay for uh, the API keys. Um, so more to follow. And so if you look here, I don't actually, I have it here. Makes sense of opening baseline agent overview. I think it's here. Yeah. Well, actually, I mean, I have it in the code itself. Code space. So, and JM code, it uses GPT-5 mini as default. Hope I got the whole thing. Yeah, I did. Okay. So we'll have to do some research on that to figure out, because this will be great. Honestly, if this is showing us how we can use an Azure environment as well as an open API key for free, I'm going to rewrite some of this code here so that we can do that as opposed so that we don't have to use or pay for any GPT models because that's one reason why typically I run this with our group session. But if I don't have to, I won't. If I don't have to wait until Thursday to do this, then I can start testing this, which will be great because I mean, if I can avoid just donating to these large corporations for reasons that I don't actually have to, then I won't do that. But I would have to figure out how this code works. And so just to make sure I can pull that up quickly, we're gonna put this here. That's where this code comes from. All right. So if I want to jump back into that, I can just see it pretty quickly. where I got that from. Uh, Let me make sure I grab the right one. Yeah, OpenAI Chat Vision. Okay. All right. So we have to figure out that part, the L of OpenAI host, uh, local, using local OpenAI compatible API with no key. Okay, so yeah, we'll have to read through this and see exactly how this works and see how we can do this for free. Um, because this is essentially using the same concept of Josh Mattercore, but just not paying for it. All right, so that'll be our conclusion for today. I think we're at the 40-minute mark. Um, but for this is really the only video you're going to see my face. Because I mean, for me, I don't know if everyone else, I usually try to step into the shoes of the viewer, and most of y'all, you only want to see the video. You don't really care to see my face. I mean, you didn't come here to see me anyways, and I understand that. So most of my videos will probably not have any of my face in it. This will probably be the only one. So if you want to get to know me or talk to me in person, then feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. This will actually be my LinkedIn here. Let me pull my LinkedIn up because I have somebody else's LinkedIn up right now. This will be my LinkedIn here if you want to reach out to me. I was actually reaching out to my what I would call my accountability partner, and he'll be holding me accountable for this task. So between him and maybe someone else who I can trust to not crush my dreams or, talk trash whenever I drop the ball. I do have a mentor, but he loves to talk trash, so I don't know. We'll see about that one. I know if I'm trying to accomplish this thing and if I miss on like the second month, I already know I'm never going to hear the end of it. So maybe that's what I need, but we'll see. I also need some motivation too. So we'll keep on pushing forward with this, starting back tomorrow, and we'll see if we can reach our goal of supplementing an income of $3,000 per month of providing a service with this project. All right. Until next time.